So you mentioned something in your description and kind of how you were explaining that. You said something about when you're in certain rooms, it's not just about being a learner, but it's about adding value. And I wanted us to kind of go into that a little bit because I know for myself, that's typically, because I've been in those spaces where I'm in rooms where I'm like, I don't know how I'm here. I don't know how I'm in this place. I don't know how I'm around these people. And so I feel like I'm usually easily the type to put myself in the place of learning, but I've never thought about it from the perspective of being able to add value in those places. And I think that's something that we miss a lot of times. So maybe that's something you can kind of dissect a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so. So when you add value, you can't look at it through the lens of how did I make this meeting or this environment or this gathering better. Yeah, you gotta, when you leave that night or that day or morning, whatever it is that you attended, walk away and ask yourself this question: did I add value to anyone who was in that room? Yeah, because sometimes you'll get to a place hoping that you meet the main person at the event. I've been in those rooms, right? Like there's like an artist, there's a pastor or a politician or someone of power, and you're like, I got invited because they invited me. Yeah, yeah. And you leave that meeting, and you yourself didn't get what you were hoping to get. You were hoping to get a shout out. Oh, I'm glad my boy Antonio's here. Hey, everybody, this is my boy, or this is my boy Adam. Facts. What if you don't get that? Facts. So do you leave that meeting thinking that you shouldn't have been in that meeting? Yeah. No. So let's rewind. If whether you believe in God or not, the cosmos decided that you needed to be. Yeah. And guess what? You were there for a moment in time. Yeah. And so start looking at everyone you talked to, everyone you bumped into, everyone, and ask yourself that question: what value did I add? Yeah. Did I make someone laugh? Did I make someone smile? Will someone remember me? And so funny story is, hit fast forward. I've been at another event in another event, and they're like, I know you from somewhere. Guess where they remember you from? That event. Yeah. You added value. Yeah. The fact that they recognized and remembered you, whether it was your fashion, whether it was your smile, whether it was the casual bump, the casual conversation. Yeah. And I think so when you look at today's generation, man, we're just so driven. And I would say because although I'm 45, man, I'm a young soul. I'm an old soul. And I live in conflict because I'm old school, but I'm also very I'm future.
But you're also engaged in what's going on.
Yeah, you're not afraid
separate.
of that.
You're not separate.
I'm grounded by what I've learned, but I am relentlessly pursuing my future, man. I want to be the funnest freaking grandpa. I want whatever TikTok, whatever new technologies out there. I like when my grandkids are running around the room, I want to do the funniest thing that they're like, Grandpa, Grandpa's woke. Like, what? So, but that's what I'm saying, right? Like you wherever you're at, add value. Yeah. Don't second guess yourself. Whether it's your fashion, I'll give you a good example. Say it. Like I've fallen in love with colognes. Ooh, right? Yes. And I look for distinctive scents.
Keep going. I'm just gonna check the camera.
I look for distinctive scents that I don't normally smell when I go to social gatherings. And the reason why I do that is because guess what? It becomes a topic of conversation.
That's good.
And I want to make it clear. I'm not trying to. So the thing is, it's like, what was that?
Yeah.
It's happened, right?
It triggers, yes.
So part of it is how do you add value to that conversation? Yeah. Your scent added. Yeah. I know that sounds so shallow. No, people listening might think like this is so, but the same with fashion. The same with think you get three girls in a room. Yeah. One of them walks in, she's wearing the red bottoms or wearing a certain type of outfit or something. And it creates a conversation. You add, and so by value, it's not that you make something better. Yeah. But something happened in an environment that you were not invisible. Yeah. So with this generation, what I see is that if we're not the main event or we're not the main person in the main event, we feel like we added no value and it was a waste of our time.
Yes,
And so
that's good.
when we feel like we wasted our time, we missed an opportunity.
Wow.
We missed the opportunity of new relationships, of going deeper with someone, of, just starting a new relationship.
Yeah.
And I'll give a shout out to my boy Justin Fraley, because he's moving to Tennessee. Ooh. I met him at a social gathering.
Yeah.
I didn't know him from the next person.
Yeah.
Listen, but we got sat at the same table, and like he is probably one of my best friends. Like when I think about top 5, he is one of those
top
people.
Top 5 dead or alive.
They're when I say they're friends to my family, they're friends, like his kids are friends to my kids.
Yeah.
Value was added at that one meeting.
Yeah.
I didn't know him before that meeting.
Yeah. Dang, that's dope. Man, I lost what I was gonna say.
I mean, let me jump in. I think that when we think about the people you've been in proximity, the things that you've been able to achieve, I think sometimes we misunderstand or underestimate, the sacrifices you have actually you had to make. I think many times we don't see that. We don't see the sacrifice that we have to make to achieve certain things, to be able to build certain things. And can you speak a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think it's funny you use the word sacrifice, and when I think about the word sacrifice, I see someone climbing a mountain with a lot of weight on them.
Yeah.
And the sacrifice that they're making is the effort and the push and the drive. I'm doing this because I have to get here for whoever is there, right? But oftentimes in life, it's the equal sacrifice going downhill.
Wow. Yeah.
If you've ever been hiking and you have a lot of weight on you, you're not feeling the weight going up. But every time you're going down, your knees feel a certain type of pressure, right?
Yeah.
And so, life is like that. There's seasons of life where you're going up. There's also seasons of life where you're going down. And the sacrifice that I think the biggest sacrifice we're having to make is, what excessive baggage am I carrying uphill and downhill that I don't need to carry?
Wow.
Yeah. And when you're able to finally identify that, and this is probably going to hurt some people.
Just say it. Yeah. Just say it.
I mean, especially people of faith, and I just want to be clear on record.
Go for it.
I'm speaking as Josh Chavez, not pastor of the church that I get to be a part of. Like, you realize that in life, there are seasons where certain people, even certain traditions, and even certain things that you always did are now dead weight. And I know that sounds so hurtful and painful. I get it. For people, because I've been ghosted. I want to make that clear. So I don't want to dismiss that. I don't want to dismiss that. I've been ghosted. I've been unfriended. So maybe I was dead weight for people. So I want to make that clear. I'm not justifying those that have been ghosted and unfriended. Hey, I got you. I've been there too. But you know what? It's a part of it. It's a part of the metamorphosis of life. You're in a season where what you are now doing is a caterpillar that needs to go into this cocoon. Yeah. And unfortunately, when your wings come out on the other side, not everybody can fly with you to the next space.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's painful. It's hurtful.
But I think, it's funny because when you talk about that, I think there's a difference between growth and comfort. And sometimes people also unfriend or let go of certain people, not because they're growing, but because they want to stay comfortable. Yeah. So sometimes they're letting go because you're making them uncomfortable. Right. Because your growth is making them uncomfortable. Because when you start acknowledging certain things that are new, or certain things that as we entering into, this new season or whatever things look like we talked about before, like the way we do church, the way we do life, everything is shifting in some sort of way. So I think that that also that there's this thing where sometimes we can take it personal, right? Like we can think like, oh man, you know, we question where people's motives and people where they're at. But the reality is sometimes I think that our own growth can cause people to want to step away from that. So, and I think that's where maybe it's hard for us to realize like where is it that we're missing it, but we're also understanding that sometimes we have to acknowledge that our growth in the next season is gonna. Some people can't roll with us, like you just said. I think that's really good.
But you know what I noticed what you're saying, which I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And if you notice, I'm 45 years old, and I used the words ghosted, and I used the word unfriended.
Yeah.
But what's today's word? Canceled.
Yeah. Canceled. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's so easy to talk about that when you're the canceled person.
Yeah.
But who's talking about like I've canceled people?
Yeah.
Because where I'm going, some people can't go.
Yeah.
And so I'm a pastor, and I think in the world of ministry and in the world of church, it would be seen as so prideful and so ungodly and so arrogant of you to think that you could cancel people. But I think we need to be real. I mean, scripture teaches us, you know, the apostle Paul himself said, all things are beneficial to me. Or all things are good for me.
Yeah.
All things are good for me.
Yeah.
That means everybody and everything, but not all things are beneficial.
Yeah.
Thanks for,
It's a scripture. Hey,
It's okay.
just slip a little
One
bit.
time, like,
clarity.
Yeah,
all things are good, but not all things are beneficial. Man, and it's been a conflict in my life. I want you to know, because I want to be. The Bible also says, "Be at peace with everybody." So even, and I'll be honest with you, even people that I've canceled or people that I've ghosted or unfriended, there might be people listening thinking like, "Yeah, Josh is just a fake." Hey, all right, that's your opinion of me. I get it, but where I'm going and what I'm doing next, it's not that you can't, it's not that I don't want you there.
Yeah.
It's that you're not conducive.
Yeah.
You're not you're not part of the purpose of where it is I'm going to go.
Yes.
Like, so I've been a student of marriage, because this year I celebrate 20.
Wow.
20 years of marriage.
Props.
Yeah,
Listen,
props.
God is good.
Hey, let's go.
I love my wife, but it's work.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to be the guy who says it's easy. No, it's work.
Yeah.
And so one of the things that I've learned in marriage and what keeps marriages healthy is that, you know, people evolve every 5 years.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, I've heard that.
You're not
before,
going to be the same person 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Will you?
Yeah.
So in a marriage, when one of the spouses outgrows the other, guess what happens? They find themselves in this place of tension.
Yeah.
Guess what happens to the majority of the people who don't outgrow that tension? They end up in divorce.
Yeah.
So if there isn't an intentionality to grow alongside someone, and to grow alongside someone, you have to be willing. How do we get on the marriage topic anyway?
Hey,
let's go.
Along to grow with someone. Listen, you know what that means, because you talked about. I thought about this because you were talking about comfort.
Yeah.
What that means is you have to be willing to go of what makes you comfortable.
Yeah.
For you to meet someone in what in that season is making them comfortable. I'm gonna give you guys a funny story.
Dang.
When me and my wife first started dating, I was like, for me, my favorite drink was a cherry Coke and Dr. Pepper.
Yeah.
Fire, both.
I'm
fire.
45 years old now. I can't stand cherry Coke. I think it's like when I drink it, it's too sweet.
much,
yeah.
Like, you know, and what's funny is that occasionally my wife will order a cherry Coke, and she's like, "I can't believe you got me to like cherry Coke, and now you don't like it."
Yeah.
Well, guess what? When we first got married, I didn't like sushi. Like, I didn't like seafood.
Yeah.
But because of my love for my wife, every time she wanted sushi, let's go have sushi. I would keep trying it, and one day,
not too bad, right?
I'm like, what? Where has this been my whole life?
Wow.
And so there's been this evolution. And so it's the same in the spiritual things and the mental things and the emotional. Fashion. Like, look, I'm rocking. Like, I didn't look like this 20 years ago. You know, like the things that I wear today. And so, if in marriage or in life, you're doing life with people, you know, when friends start to say, "Yo, you've changed," and I hope everybody hears this. When friends start to say, "Yo, you've changed," that's actually a good thing, not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It means that you grew in a direction that is no longer in the place that made that friendship comfortable.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so that friendship now has an opportunity to like either decide I want to grow with you or I want to get to know you.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that, you know, all of a sudden you want to wear, you know, loose jeans or skinny jeans. Doesn't mean that you have to become me.
Yeah.
But you're not gonna reject your relationship to me simply because we don't like the same things or do the same things or eat the same things or, you know.
But how let me ask you this, like, how do you actually, many of us may grieve to let go. We don't know how to like let go of like friendships or certain activities or many other things, right? Like, how do you learn how to let go and also you being okay and at peace with that's no longer maybe your circle? Or
I'll confess, I'm terrible at that. Like, I won't even say that it's easy because it's not.
Yeah.
And I think for people who have been ghosted or unfriended or canceled, it's never easy. Like, I have friends right now that I genuinely love, but I also resent because their level of stuckness is besides me.
Wow.
You know, and you know, like let's talk about social media, right? Like I'm not like a super active social media person.
Yeah.
But when I post something, here's what I do notice, because I'm still friends with some of them. They never like my stuff.
Yeah.
But what's funny is because they're still on my social media feed, I see they like everybody else's stuff. But the stuff that they like, guess what it is? It's not stuff where I used to be.
Yeah.
My God.
Say it again.
Listen, bro.
He's gonna preach right now.
So no, but I want to sit in this vulnerable place because it's not about me getting somewhere better.
No.
It's never about better.
No.
And I think that's where I think that's where the younger generation misses it.
Yeah.
You being more futuristic doesn't make you better. It just makes you futuristic. That's it.
That's it. Yeah.
Because if I'm historic, but I'm financially secure and I'm happy, I think I'm better than you. So it's not about better, and I think that's the conflict. With
growth, especially that word growth.
Even growth, we think everything, but not all growth is healthy.
Yeah.
If I have something growing off the side of my head, like that ain't healthy.
Say it. Yes.
So not all growth is healthy. Let's be honest, right? Like, so I'm having to learn that you're not liking my futuristic endeavors doesn't mean that you are no longer my friend. I need to be okay with, like, maybe what I did is just not to your liking. It's not to your taste. And when I talk about that, it's like my way of preaching, my way, you know, even as an artist, you know, I'm releasing new music, and the style of music, you know, like recently, I'm not even gonna say names, but I recently a very well known. I rolled my eyes. I'm sorry. I think I gave it away. Like, you know, I love this dude, phenomenal worship leader. You know, he decided to release like a tribute to old school, you know, Spanish church songs, you know, known as corridos. Everybody's going crazy over it, and I'm like, I've been doing these corridos for years, and I didn't get one like.
True.
But all of a sudden, that guy who's been in the future forever decided to do it. Everybody's like, So, you know, I'm having to learn my space. And, you know, it's not about better. It's not about, you know, status. But, you know, some people are not going to grow at your pace. And you need to be okay with that. And it's you know, it's both helpful, but it's also hurtful. It's helpful because, you know, if you make a decision that you don't want to be stuck, you don't want to, this season is no longer the one for you. It's helpful in that God has other people in a new community and other people that will be like-minded to support you into the future that you're going to go. But those that didn't go, guess what? They're also good.
That's
good.
good.
And I think that's why we kind of talked about it a little earlier. Why comparison is that's, to me, that's actually a side of comparison I feel like we don't talk about, is that where that's a killer, is that when you're so focused on comparing yourself to others, you're missing it because of the fact that that your level of growth is different from the other person's level of growth. So the way that God might be calling them to something different, that may not be the same thing that God is calling you. So if clearly there's a different plan for your life for someone than in comparison to someone else, when you're comparing yourself to someone else, what we often do is, God, I want that. I want their life. I want what they're experiencing.
That sound. That
exactly.
I want that influence.
Exactly.
That platform.
Because you could have the same
voice.
show, you could have the same, go to the same event, but you're not necessarily, you're comparing yourself to you want the exact same thing. And that's where comparison can kill you, because when God creates our specific plan, our future, it's not going to ever be exactly the same plan, the same steps. So I think that's where comparison can be very dangerous, in the sense that we find ourselves frustrated because we're like, okay, I'm speaking for people who want to grow, because there's people like we talked about with the comfort thing. They're more concerned about comfort than they are about growth.
That's true.
So I think that's where comparison is really a big factor when it comes to that.
Yeah, no. Man, we can go so many. We can go so many routes.
We gave you. I'm sorry. I think I kind of opened up a can of worms with that last one. Dude. People be like, "Man, Josh canceled people." Like, I did. Honestly, I did. There's some people that that are just it's not that they were beneath me. I want to make that clear. It's not that they were beneath me. They are just not conducive.
That's wisdom.
They're not in alignment to where I am at today and where I will be tomorrow.
Yeah.
But I think this is why you can't be concerned. You can't be more concerned with someone else's growth than you are for your own. Because when you get to that place, that's where I think we acknowledge, like, even as a pastor, like, God has called you to impact and to be a shepherd to specific people's lives, and that could shift in different seasons. And that might be that certain people, if they choose to go with you or not, that means that someone else may be responsible for that person. And I think that's where, when people leave the flock in that sense, we have to trust God in those moments, in the sense of, like, God, you are going to care for that person, and there might be someone else who needs to lead him in this season.
But it's the same. It's the same in the business world. It's the same in the arts, in the education realm. It's the same in so many different spheres. Of influence. That you get to a place where what you are a part of is no more, and you have to recognize the seasons. There's a reason why we have seasons. There's always a fall that, like, kind of lets you know the end of something is coming, and then you have a winter where there's just complete death. And then you have a spring where there's the beginning of life, the beginning of renewal. It's the revive. It's the new beginnings. And then you have summer where it's just the abundance of all the new things that have happened. And before you know it, there's a season of fall again.
Wow.
Some things are dying. I live my life in such a way that I am a friend to everyone that I've always been a friend to. I can't think of any enemy that I have, and if I have them, it's not by me, my choice. It was their decision. I live in that way. But I can honestly say that there are some people that if I was to be in the room with them today, it would be very casual conversation. We wouldn't have much in common, because I'm not in the season that they're in, and they're not in the season that I'm in. But let's be clear. My season isn't better than theirs. And theirs isn't better than mine.
So good. That's so good.
That's good.
Yeah. Let me ask you that. Let me change the conversation into, like, two questions. Let me fold it for you. What concerns you about this next generation, and what you're hopeful for this next generation, right? And let me just share with you what concerns me about this next generation. I think what concerns me is the lack of people skills. Because we're so embedded and so we dig in so much into social media where we don't know how to interact with people. I have been in different businesses. I've been actually go and sell like clothing, clothes, you know, and I see the lack of like people skills. They don't know how to interact with people. They don't know kindness. They don't know how to like communicate. They don't know how to like many other stuff, right? So to me that concerns me, right? Because of social media, because of the pandemic, because of many other stuff, right? That I feel like is setting us up for failure when it comes down to interact with other people. So once again, going back to the question, what concerns you about this generation? But what are you hopeful for?
Yeah. So you alluded earlier to my age and even people that are probably older than myself.
Yeah.
We didn't have the internet. We didn't have all the resources available to us. And so a lot of it was trial and error. Yeah. A lot of it was an intentionality to get educated, to go to school, to have a mentor, to have a coach. And I feel like the fact that we have so many resources available to our generation during the last 12 months during this pandemic, with all of the racial tensions and all the political divisiveness of our nation, but on both in every realm. You know, it's not just, you know, the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, it's all of it. I remember pressing into conversations with my two boys. You know, I have an 18-year-old and a 15-year-old. They are the next generation. And interestingly enough, man, they were schooling me.
Wow.
They were schooling me with information. Even with the spiritual climate of, you know, the end times and the prophetic and all that. They were telling me things that I had to sit there and just listen. And so that to me is a concern. I'll tell you why it's a concern, is that when you have something so readily available to you, it's not yours. Someone gave it to you.
Yeah.
And my concern was that my generation and the previous generation, we had to work to get something.
Yeah.
And so when you have something so readily available, what do? You don't treat it with like when something costs you, you protect it with your life.
Yeah.
You know, and so I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I'm grateful for technology. I wouldn't reverse it. I'm grateful for it. But it is a concern of mine that the more you have available to you, the less you value and protect the information, the depth of wealth that has been handed to you at the click of a button.
Yeah.
And I can say that firsthand. Like, I've never been to culinary arts school. But I've learned to cook like a good
you're
chef.
Good. I'll say that.
I've had chefs come, people who have gone to the cordon bleu schools and some of the schools, they've come and eaten at my house and they're like, bro, what on earth did you put in this rice? What did you put in? You know, guess where I learned? YouTube. On the internet. YouTube.
Yeah. On
an app.
Yeah.
I paid a few dollars for a master chef to teach me what they spent thousands of dollars and hours to learn to make.
Yeah.
It didn't cost me anything. And guess what? So I might not treat this dish or this thing with with the reverence that it deserves. And I would say that would be my biggest concern. My biggest hope is also in line, or what I am most grateful for, excited for, is also in line, right? With all of this available to you, this is what it tells me. What's your limit? What's the standard?
What's your excuse?
What's your excuse?
Yeah.
What will stop you? What will keep you from? So, you know, it's often said that our purpose is birthed through our pain. You know, that it's always in conflict, right? Because our pain will always cause us to question our purpose, but our purpose is always directly connected to our pain because it's the experience of life. And I feel like that's going to be the tension of this next future, right? Of the future. People have so much available to them, but the amount of mistakes that they're going to make. So you alluded to relationals, the social skills, right?
Right.
So you have all this product, you have good merchandise, you have good clothing line, you have this, but you don't have the relational equity to come into a room And at the moment you walk into a room, everyone respects you because they know how honorable, how skilled you are. No, they're like, you're just a, in Spanish we use this little word. You're just a little mocoso who's got resources. And, but you don't know how to treat this. So for our
Spanish challenged people, what is that?
You're just a little brat. You're a little brat.
Yeah, that's fact.
You're just a little brat. You got all these skills and you got all this. So there's nothing wrong with that. My encouragement to the young generation would be like, hey, just honor anyone, someone your age, someone younger, someone older. Just don't walk into a meeting, don't walk into an opportunity thinking you got to figure it out. Always walk in and ask you. Let's go back to what I said earlier. What can I learn? And what value can I add? If you live your life that way, man, you're gonna live a life of great impact.
That's
and I think I love that because kind of with your question, I think it's important because regardless of what the amount of technology that we have in our hands, and this is something we've kind of touched on a little bit, is that that regardless that we live in a very social world, we live in a world where computers and technology are not taking over anytime soon, where it's completely AI, completely where you don't need to talk to a human being to do all these things. So these social skills and the value that has are still going to be something that is going to always be powerful. It's going to be required. It's going to be something that we need to have. So I think it's really something that we need to continue to point to the value of and be able to teach the fact that, and especially honestly, the one thing that I would say is kind of what makes me nervous about this past year is that there are young kids like, in kindergarten and preschool and elementary school who a whole year of school
They've
online,
not been around other kids.
They're thinking they might. That's gonna make them think. Oh, okay, so we don't need to.
So much of our social skills are learned with the diversity of people we do life with. Right?
Wow.
I remember going to school and seeing what other kids had at the lunch table. Those that brought lunch from home, and you're looking at them like, "What you eating over there?" Right? But it exposes you to culture. It exposes you to the diversity, and so. Yeah, my concern for that generation, those that are barely in pre-K, kindergarten, doing it online, eating at home, talking to their parents, not interacting with other kids. Man, I mean, as a pastor, all I can say is we have to pray for that generation. I can look at it one or two ways. God's either preserving them for something or there's something working against them, and we have to pray regardless. We got to pray for God to use this as a setup for the future.
And I think that when we talk about that, right, relational intelligence is going to be as important as cultural intelligence, as emotional intelligence.
Right.
So I think when we think about relational intelligence, right, when businesses or organizations want to hire someone, I think that's going to be a key thing to evaluate, right, where they at when it comes down to that. Because before maybe it was not, because we were, I want to say we were so good at it, but I mean, we were not that bad.
Yeah.
And I think that now in the next decade, I think that's going to be a very key thing to evaluate how they are in their relational skills, can they relate with other people?
It's funny because there's a documentary on HBO called like Persona. It's about personality tests. And so it's kind of going to that conversation about people with certain personalities. And it was really interesting. Honestly, I have like conflicting ideas about it, so you can kind of watch it on your own. But it was talking about how they've kind of made it so. But it's interesting because it's talking about like the workforce and saying how they valued extroverts and saying how they valued extroverts for leadership roles. And people who have those more personality type are more common and more likely to get those like promotions and those leadership roles. And so while I could see that being in a sense certain true, my thing that I think is where there's a little bit of a lacking is that there's certain roles that are going to be playing more specifically to those that are more introverted. So like how you were talking about like, certain tasks where you don't need to be in person, you don't need to be, you can be just focused on technology. And I think there's now, because of technology, there's actually even more so this world that's opening up where there is going to be people that don't need necessarily the extroverted social type skills, but they can still do great work. So I think that's something that's really important, that we always understand that it doesn't, like you keep mentioning, I think is really good. It's not about being better than anybody. And so that's where I think that we always have to remind ourselves that because that's what we do in our humanness, like our ego. We want to always put ourselves above people, and I think that's what we have to be careful.
We got to cancel comparison,
man. Seriously.
I can't sit here and say that I like In-N-Out Burger without a Texan immediately jumping out. It's all about Whataburger, right? You know, and as soon as they say that, I'm annoyed because I'm like, no, it's all about In-N-Out. Like, we have to cancel comparisons. So going back to the power of the extrovert, because I work in an organization that assesses people for their aptitudes and readiness. And the reality is there are roles that an extrovert does have that an introvert doesn't have, right? And in many cases, it is that leadership role. It's that front role. But I want you to ask yourself this question. If you are that leader, but you have no one to lead, how are you going to build what it is that you're leading? Because a leader is only as strong as the team he has behind him. And guess what? That's usually all those introverts that are setting that blueprint, that are building that foundation to sustain the vision. You know, one is not better than the other. They're both needed. You know, if we go to, I'm not going to preach, man.
No, say it.
I mean, but just like even in scripture, right? Like in the book of Corinthians, Paul talks about the body of Christ and every member having its function. And not one is greater than the other. The ear can't tell the nose can't tell the ear, the eye can't tell the toe. I don't need you. I don't want you. We all have our role to play. And we live in a society in a time where it's all about the greatest attributes, the greatest skills. And we disqualify people that might have one good thing to do. But that one good thing to do is so necessary that if they don't play their part, nothing gets done.
When it's funny because I think it, like in our world, like as humans, we think we're so smart, but like to me, like biblically, there's so many things that are like something like that, a concept that we clearly see, right? But the problem is that we're so like money centric. So we value people's work based on, and we put a price to it. So we say this person who maybe doesn't have the quote unquote leadership qualities because they're not extroverted, we say they're worth less. And so when people are focused more on on how much they make, and of course I understand, I'm not saying that I don't understand that, but I'm saying that we need to understand that they're not devalued because they don't have the same quality of skills as someone who could quote unquote is leading. And I think that's something that, like, I think of people like Gary Vee who's talked about that, and people that have talked about the fact that maybe you weren't called to be the number one, maybe you were called to be the number two. And number two is still a valuable role. Everyone thinks that they need to be the number one. They need to be the leader. They need to be the CEO. They need to be the boss. And it's like, no, maybe you're a great number two, and you just need to play your role and play that position.
Our culture and our society has devalued the position of the number two.
That's true.
Simply based on comparison. Okay. And I feel like we've used this number system. That's my personal opinion. Which, I mean, you work at the church that I get to lead, and you're in proximity. Your wife works for the church. I don't use numbers. I don't use numbers. We try to use this fivefold ministry model where at the table, everyone is one of these five. One of these five. And not one is hierarchy. In order for us to have the greatest outcome, all five have to be in place. Right? You could have a phenomenal sports car, $1 million sports car. If it has no gas, it's not going anywhere. Who's the gas in the organization? Right? Okay, fill up the tank. Well, if it doesn't have a battery, who's the battery in the organization? Well, put the battery back in. It's got a full tank. Well, let's remove the spark plugs. Let's go one by one and start eliminating that this $1 million sports car that's been created and designed to be luxurious and fast and powerful. If you remove one of the components that it's meant to create it to be what it's meant to be and do, it's not functional.
Yeah.
And I feel like in life, in our organization, in our businesses, in the churches that we lead, in our marriage. Okay, I'm going back to marriage.
Yes.
Like the Bible describes marriage as husband and wife becoming one.
Yes.
So when there's animosity between spouses, guess what you did? You removed the spark plug. You have no gas.
Yes.
Your batteries, and you're wondering why you're miserable. You're wondering like because there's this spirit of competition and this like and you add kids to the dynamic, right? And now you're mistreating your kids, and like, man, I'm not telling you, bro, there's power in fellowship, in koinonia, in understanding that we are all meant to work together to create this beautiful outcome.
Yeah.
Wow.
Whether it's your business, whether it's your arts. So you as an artist, okay, you have a producer.
Yeah.
You and your producer can work up and drop the hottest track, the hottest beat, if you don't have someone who's going to market that for you, you're only going to reach the people that know you.
Yeah.
Now you get a marketing person who doesn't know a thing about music, who doesn't know a thing about beats, who doesn't know how to play one key on the computer, but they are a marketing guru.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right? Like, it's the power of koinonia. It's the fellowship. The world calls it synergy.
Yeah. Yes.
Right?
Synergy, yes. Hey, let's go.
Listen.
Yes.
It's a Bluetooth speaker that's been created to do what? Amplify sound.
Yeah.
Right? You have the cable that connects to the Bluetooth speaker to amplify the sound. But if that cable doesn't have the tip of the charger to connect to the wall, it's not going to amplify sound.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a wall to connect it to, or think about it, it's the power of koinonia. We're all created to do something. The charger cannot get charged by the wall. The charger cannot charge the cable to charge the speaker. How many of us are not able to, man, listen, this right here.
Let's go.
We can end with this. How many of us desire to amplify our gifts and our influences, and we're wondering, how come I can't amplify? My question would be, it's like, who's your cable? Who's the receptacle that's going to connect you to the wall to get charged?
Yes.
And what wall are you not connected to get charged for extensive amount of time? Because every time you show up to play, guess what? You don't have enough energy to amplify your sound.
Yeah.
Hey,
peace.
Look, man. I know we can. I know we can close with this, but let me.
I'm thinking about who's my cable.
You're like, who is it?
Let me ask you this, because we don't often have people like yourself. You know, they have the opportunity to lead a lot of people, and you're one of those people that can transcend. You know. In the church world, tradition, you know, organizations, denominations, and one of the things that I admire about you is that you have a team around you, have staff around you that perhaps don't think like you, and we don't think like each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have the ability to bring all of us together in this synergy, right?
Right.
To move forward, right?
Right.
And that's something that I admire, because we live in a generation that if you don't think like me, you're against me.
Right.
If you don't process life like me, you're against me, right? So you have this ability to bring people together, and the staff, you literally pay them, right?
Yeah.
Pay us. I'm including that. You know, you literally pay us.
Yeah.
What is something that you would like to communicate to this generation, that, and even us, you know, as young people, that we need to learn, right? Because you have a very diverse team that think very different, perhaps sometimes, and you have to bring us all of us together sometimes.
Well, I think in terms of the generation that is invited to be a part of a collective.
Yeah.
I think you would probably be able to answer that question better. I think the question I could answer better is, how do I speak to those that have the opportunity to lead in a collective where they are not minimizing or dismissing the ideas, the giftedness, the opinions, the influence that people like yourself bring to the table, right? Again, going back to what I said earlier, you learn from your mistakes. I grew up in an environment where I had some great leaders around me, but their way of leading was very toxic. It was hurtful in that their approach was, let me build a team around me that's going to help me fulfill what I want. I was never asked, what do you think about this? Yeah. I was never asked that question. I can't remember anybody ever asking me, hey, what do you think about this? No, it was like, here's what we need you to do because we know you can do it. Yeah. We'll pay you. Get it done. Yeah. And I eventually got to a point where I realized I don't want to do this anymore. So I try my best to lead. And let's be fair. I've had people who worked for me who no longer work for me because they got to that point. They got to the point where whatever it is that I was doing was no longer enough for them. They had to go do their own thing. And I'm good with that. But I try my best to lead from a space where let me ask the team, hey, this is where we want to go. How do we get there? And I am willing to admit that I don't know how to get there all the time. Yeah. Have you ever used your phone and you do MapQuest or you do Google Maps or you do your Apple Maps, like whatever it is you do, right? You do your Google Maps or you do your.
Some people don't even know about MapQuest.
Right, my bad. I made it myself.
No,
right,
okay. You got Maps. I remember MapQuest.
Right, but I've been in the car with someone else and they'll use what's the other Waze.
Waze, yeah.
I'll do Apple Maps. They'll do Waze. We're both going in the same direction. But Waze gave a different route than Apple. Yeah. Have you noticed that?
Yeah.
That happens in our organizations. We all want to get to the same place.
Yeah.
But there's a different way to get there. Have you ever worked on a puzzle with multiple people?
Yeah.
Have you noticed how people build puzzles? Some people start working on the edges. Some people start putting together the little color schemes together.
Yeah.
They look for the things that look like each other. Is anyone wrong? No one's wrong.
Yeah.
And I feel like organizationally, people in my generation, we've never given the opportunity for diversity. We've only said, I want to start with the edges and you're only allowed to do the edges of this puzzle. And so what we do for people like you who like to do the colors, or I'm just assuming, people like you who want to, work on the, whatever, you notice that these things go together. Like what we do is we make you feel like you're doing it the wrong way.
Yes.
Is Waze wrong? Is Apple Maps wrong? Is MapQuest wrong? Is Yahoo Maps wrong?
Stop bring it out and take it with me. You're not wrong.
You know how many places I got to?
I'm sure.
I printed out and I got to my destination. But okay, so going back to organization, I would say for you is how do you live in this space? And maybe this is a great question for you.
Say.
How do you work in an environment where maybe the way you think the destination or the route we need to take is different from the collective decision, but you're still a part of the collective decision because something in the room convinced you to say, I wouldn't do it this way, but I trust the rest of my team. Why don't you answer that question?
That's good. No, I agree because I feel like you're one of those people that are willing to ask a question, push back. Tell me, maybe I don't see something, So I do agree that you are one of those people that that you're willing to say, you know what, I prefer that, but because everybody's talking about this and everybody may be more inclined to this, we're gonna go this route. Yeah. So I do believe that it also requires a lot of humbleness, a lot of put to your ego aside to say I know better. So to me, I'm not quite sure if I can answer the question, but I can say that for sure you have inspired me and my level of leadership to do the same thing for other people, to be able to engage with other people and say, man, I'm excited to bring people that don't think like myself into my team and maybe engage with other people that don't think like myself. To see, I want to know what they think. I want to know how they process things. And I'm willing to say I'm wrong, or I'm willing to say, you know what? I'll go with you guys rather than myself. Yeah. So you have inspired me to lead that way. So.
I think that so when I hear conversations between like OGs and like people who are like in this generation, to me that's always the conflict, is the older generation not willing to give a voice to the younger generation or the younger generation who disrespects the older generation.
Right.
Yep. So to me, I feel like that's that's the people that ultimately lose on both sides.
Yeah.
Or the people who aren't willing to see collaboration as ultimately the key.
That's good.
Is that whether you're part of the older generation who has seen it before and is now open to something new, or the younger generation who is maybe more understanding of a clear picture of the future, but still needs to understand that they can learn some things from the older generation, because like I said, there's some things that ain't going away, like social skills and people skills and being able to connect, all that stuff, that's never going away. But ultimately, I think that's something that, from whether you're leading or you're part of a team, you have to be open to both sides to learn. Like we talked, I mean, to me, that's been the theme. Either you're learning something or you're adding value. So you always have something you learn, but you can always add value. That's good. You just have to figure out what that looks like.
Yeah, I think one thing that I could say I've done my best to do well is that we celebrate every victory together.
That's good. Yeah, that's true.
And we celebrate and we mourn every defeat together.
That's good, man. That's true.
And we failed a lot as an organization.
That's good.
We've never blamed it on a person. It's been a collective failure.
Yeah.
And there's probably people in the room who probably pushed back on the decision made.
Yeah.
But guess what? Because they're part of the collective.
That's good.
They got to take the failure with them.
Yeah.
It's like you're not allowed to dismiss I didn't have nothing to do with that.
I tell you guys not to do that.
Right,
right. That's good.
And so, I think, and it's going back to what I said at the beginning of this podcast, like whenever failure happens, we have an opportunity to learn from it, or we have an opportunity to let that destroy us or keep us stagnant. And I mean, there's a lot of failures in my life that have kept me in the space of failure longer than I needed to stay. And then there's times that I just shake it off, and because of the healthy community I have around me, because of the koinonia, I have the right cable, I have the right energy. Everybody around me is getting me to a place of we got you, bro. We got you a new cable. We got you a new energy source. And guess what? You're a new speaker. Go ahead and amplify. If you're not surrounded with that, you will stay in the space of failure longer than you were expecting to stay.
That's good. It's funny because lately I've been saying this one thing, and I feel like the more I say it, the more I'm it applies to so many things. Is you got two choices in certain situations, but you really only got one.
Right.
It's you can either let it destroy you or you can move forward.
Right.
And it's the same thing with unforgiveness. It's the same thing with bitterness. It's you got two choices in those situations: when you're hurt, when you're down. But you really only got one.
How long am I going to sit here and say, what they did to me?
Say that.
We were just talking about something earlier. Look what they did to me. And I mean, let's just be honest. We have permission to be there for a little bit.
Yes, totally.
Yes.
Be the victim for a good day, 2-3 weeks, 4 months. Dude, give yourself permission to say, this sucks.
Yeah, totally.
I can't believe this was done to me.
Yep.
But don't stay there too long.
Love it.
Exactly. Which leads us to that. You only got one choice at that point.
Right.
Is you got to move forward. You got to find a way out and to the next. That's good.
Man, I'm straight.
Cool, man.
Thank you, Pastor Josh.
Thanks for hanging out, man. Appreciate you guys having me. Hopefully I added some value in my presence here, because I've learned some things while I've been here. So either way, I'm walking away a winner.
Appreciate you.
We appreciate you. We've learned multiple things, and we appreciate the time. And if no one else is blessed, we have been extremely blessed. So
I'm excited. Thanks, guys. Likewise.
So this is the Soul Tapes Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, we'll see you guys next time.
And we out. Let's go.
A fallen world, ashamed to say I'm a part of it. Wasn't for God, I probably end up with y'all fronting. Talking about love in the most explicit ways. Never cared about others, only focused on my name. I walked around with bitterness in my veins. Took a pill and swallowed that just to wash away all the shame. Who to blame? Was looking for an escape when 100 million ways to end up in the same place.